If you don't address matters from the roots, from its very roots, there is no way you can solve the problem. The reason why the American government under Donald Trump have demanded that Tinubu should dismantle Sharia, should declare Sharia unconstitutional. The basis for this Islamic radicalism and escalations is founded on the principles of Sharia. You've heard from the former governor of Zamfara State, the state where the Sharia law was first launched. He said in one of his videos that it is the passion, the desire of every Muslim for Sharia to have preeminence in Nigeria. Now, the foundation of the crisis was laid immediately Sharia was adopted, was allowed to be adopted by certain states in the country. Now it has spread to 12 states, and more states are craving for such. That was the greatest mistake. The foundation of destruction that was laid under Obasanjo, who might come now and be claiming a sense for those who he may want to deceive. Obasanjo laid the foundation of this crisis. And today he might be parading himself as an innocent, as a saint. Why was Sharia adopted in the first instance? Because of the compromise. Obasanjo wanted to return to power in his re-election bid. And the conditions that was given to him by the North, the Islamic Caliphate, and northern oligarchs is adopt Sharia, allow us practice Sharia at the state level, then we can back you up. Well, he considers, well, what do I stand to lose? Since it's to be confined within the states and the northern state, well, let them practice their Sharia. That is their right, and whatever happens is immaterial, provided I clinch to power, I return to that Oval Office as the president, to the point that even after completing his second tenure as provided or allowed by the Constitution, Obasanjo went behind again and was doing all he could, lobbying just to pave way to adjust the Constitution so that he could run for third term. Third term. He wanted to introduce third term bid in the Nigerian Constitution to allow him run for third term. That is how desperate an average politician could be. It's so unfortunate. This level of desperation, this level of quest, greed expressed is the reason why an Akintola and Awolowo turned Nigeria upside down. The Operation Wetia, and the rest of them. It's appeared that this excessive greed is identical with especially the southwestern region politicians. When you trace back to history, you understood what I'm saying. The level of desperation is what pushed Obasanjo to allow them practice Sharia in those states, despite the fact that Nigeria is a secular state. Enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is that the people has the right of religious expression, the religious liberty. But the moment Obasanjo allowed that because of his vested personal interests, political interests, he doesn't consider the population of the northern church that are not Muslim. In fact, the Christian population in the north are more than the Christians by considering their population. The entire middle belt are predominantly Christians, and they have the larger population. They have the larger population. Over 60% of the population of the North is from the middle belts. So what are you saying? Even the far north, such as Bauchi, Taraba, Nasarawa, and the rest of them, have considerable number of Christians of origins. I mean, indigenous communities that are Christians. The reason why majority of those communities have been overwhelmed by this Islamic extremism and the rest of them. So what was fueling their action? Sharia, the principles of Sharia. And perhaps in the course of this or in a separate video, we'll discuss about these issues of Sharia and what is driving this extremism. Just as the former governor of Zamfara said, was it Sani So, whoever it is, I may not want to discuss his person now. He said that is the ambition of every northerner, every Muslim. And another one went to say, you can't separate Sharia and Muslim. It's inseparable. Inseparable. So for those who are saying that they can't practice, in fact, he went further to say, if you are a Muslim and you don't support Sharia implementation and adoption, then you're not a true Muslim. That is to tell you how strategic, how important Sharia is to the Islamic world. But how do they practice their own aspect of Sharia? The likes of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and the rest of, are they not Muslim communities or countries? Why were they not driven by this radicalism and extremism? They still allow other people to come to do business and have liberty of expression of their own faiths. So the foundation of Sharia and extremism, radicalism in Nigeria will not be complete without mentioning Obasanjo, who laid the foundation because of his personal interests or whatever he stands to gain at that particular time, but not knowing that in the long run it will become a monster. It will be to contend with. And we have seen that happening repeatedly, countless times. And another case of concern, these people being smuggled into Nigeria to cause mayhem. If it were to be Yorubas or Igbos, Nigeria would have blown up. The escalation would be something that would not be contained with. But why are Nigerians silent or perhaps helpless about this issue of Sharia supremacy? Even the Nigerian constitution, the Islamic religion has more prominence, more recognition in the Nigerian constitution than the Christian faith. Instances where over 73 times or incidents where Sharia was mentioned. Now, what were the Christian population or Christian leaders doing while all these things are going on? Majority of them have been lobbied to remain silent for whatever reasons best known to them, because it doesn't affect them once they have their own, to be in the good book of the president and the rest of them. So, and they enjoy certain favors and privileges. They kept mute why disaster looms, why the seed of discord, why it's being watered and nursed. Unfortunately, today, they are the same Christian leaders who are eating up their words, denying the very existence, the very act of criminality against the Christian population. Something they once professed, they once spearheaded, today they are denying the reality to the extent of denying the Christian genocide, the attack of Christian communities across the regions that are most pronounced, the Middle Belt, the North Central, and other core North states, where Christians have become targets of such hostility, and to the point of extinction. Look at recently what happened in Benue State. Over 200 were killed. And when Very Dark Man went there, he saw gory sights, gory videos, incidents where people, including children, were rounded up, burnt alive. Can you see somebody who called himself a clergy, a bishop, denying the reality? No wonder the Bible says their God is their stomach, is their belly. They have no part in the eternal inheritance. How could they be denying the reality? But that is not where my interest lies. For America to have given an instruction to Tinubu administration, Tinubu happens to be a Muslim, but now dismantle Sharia, declare Sharia unconstitutional, and the North is moving against the move by Tinubu because they have seen the handwriting on the wall. They are ready to battle it to the end. If that means ending Nigeria in good faith, let everybody part his way, that might be the easiest way out. Because to an French Nigerian Northerner or to an French Islamic scholar, they can't do away with Sharia. In fact, Sharia has been the basis for their uniformity and common purpose. They have achieved political dominance even in the north and across Nigeria through the enactment of Sharia, the principle of Sharia. They have considered they want to remain and perpetuate themselves. The point to rule mentality was turned at that principle of Sharia that consider other indigenous communities, other citizens of the same country, an infidel, and they claim that no infidel should rule over a Muslim. You see, that is the foundation, and for that to end, for such level of escalations, extremism to end, America is digging deep from the foundation. And what is that foundation? That was laid with the conspiracy, with the assistance of Obasanjo and the rest of them. It's Sharia. Sharia was once restricted, limited, constrained within the Islamic cycle to address family issues and matters of concern within the family and Islamic families, Muslim families, and the rest of the society. But having been adopted as part of the law of the state, that is where the problem lies. Now, they have been using this to intimidate other non-Muslim faithfuls, the Christian faithful and other minority religious groups, forcing them to come under the influence and dictate of Sharia. And America have studied the development and understood that the extremism, the radicalism, the brain behind it, the fuel behind it, the life behind this Islamic radicalism and the jihadists is the Sharia. So there is no way they can solve the problem without, first of all, dismantling the source of the problem. They have given Tinubu several instances, instructions on what to do. The first is to publish the list of the terrorist financiers, which invariably Tinubu is still dragging his feet on this, knowing fully well because many heads will roll. Even those within his cabinet will definitely be affected, just as the former Nigerian intelligence agency boss said it. He said those serving current political elites, governors, senators, and the rest of them, those within the corridor of power, are involved in this matter. The reason why Buhari has to step down and silence investigations about that and cover up because he knew it is part and parcel of such. And these people are his foot soldiers, his boys, projecting this using political and economic influence to further the agenda of overrunning the entire Nigerian populace and subjugating them to the dictates of Sharia. So America has pointed out, published the list of financiers of terrorism, which Tinubu is still indecisive about that action, but there have been pressure on him to publish these names. Again, dismantle or disarm the terrorists. The terrorists already have been well equipped. According to Sheikh Gumi and the Sultan of Sokoto, he said, if by any means you might contemplate of overrunning or subduing the terrorists or the bandits and the Boko Haram, it might take 2 decades or more. What are they telling you? That these people are well funded, have robust network, are beyond the shores of Africa and the rest of them. So they are well consolidated. If by Nigeria contending with them, it will be almost impossible because even the military that should contend with such uh, extremism or act of terrorism has been already captured, has been infiltrated. The files and ranks of the military has already been filtrated. The reason why you see the success recorded against the military, they have been ambushed, they have been overrun, the base, military base and camps have been overrun with remarkable ease, even with unmanned military vehicles. You begin to ask what exactly is going on. They have perfectly achieved that with the intelligence of the moment. They understood once they're able to infiltrate that by reintegration of the Fulani, the terrorists in the name of de-radicalizing them, empowering them and giving them military uniform camouflage to become parts of the security draft. You know what that means? Definitely the security it will be collapsed and eventually be controlled by the terrorists in just a matter of time. The good military with good intentions will, over time, be set up and blown up, and whatever happens, you consider that one day Nigeria will wake up to find out that the entire systems, national security, have collapsed in the hands of the terrorists. These are well intelligent scheming and state of preparedness of these people. They understood what they are doing is high profile uh, coordination and intelligence in what they are doing. So America is aware of all these indices and of course are pointing out they're not messing with. They are pointing out to the this is what you have to do. If you think you needed our cooperation just as you suggested, but that doesn't mean we can't override whatever intention you have or a request you may have made. But let's just try you to see what you can do. And the Americans, the government of America, they are running out of patience because it appears that Tinubu is not, calling for recruitment and the rest. That is not the problem. The problem stands at the founders of terrorism. The founders of terrorism, the life behind the terrorism is the sponsors. Without sponsors, there can be effectiveness of those used or machineries used. Machine can eventually collapse. But those keeping it running is the financiers, those providing logistics, funding, and the rest of it. Publish these names and is dragging his feet. It's rather unfortunate. But then we are watching and observing what is going on. Definitely, America is putting his eyes closely on the moves and the activities of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. One of the analysts, one of the congressmen have accused him of complicity of whatever is happening. His body language and conspiracy of silence are trying to subvert the cause of events by reshuffling and the rest of them. Musa is not a new man. He has been within the cycle, security cycle. What difference could he make at this particular time? Well, I'm not criticizing his person, but he has been the chief of defense staff while all these atrocities are going on. So what difference could he bring to the table as defense minister? So anybody waiting for such to expect anything different might be wasting his time and deceiving himself, even in the world of oblivion, of uncertainty. And that is just the case. The problem is with Tinubu inverts this trap because already he has been trapped. He's at a point of indecisiveness. Whether he decides left or right, whatever happens, he will be caught with this wave of uncertainty. And I hope he will act in the interests of humanity rather than trying to save his political allies, which might not be there for him in the running days. Let's have your own take regarding this update and what to think is the way forward. Via the comment section, like, share, and turn on the notification button. If you're watching us for the first time, just take seconds to hit the subscription button. Always a pleasure. Waiting in anticipation your own reaction via the comment section.